President Trump's speech today, America is in mourning after Las Vegas massacre.
Thank you. As we mentioned, President Trump traveled to Las Vegas Wednesday to meet with some of the shooting victims and first responders. Chief White House correspondent Major Garrett reports.
President Trump landed in the shadow of the Mandalay Bay Hotel and then drove near the scene of the massacre in the center of a grieving city he came to console.
It makes you very proud to be an American when you see the job that they've done.
At University Medical Center, the hospital that received 100 victims, the president thanked doctors and nurses. The president also toured the Las Vegas Police Command Center and hailed the bravery of officers and civilians who faced the terror head on.
In the depths of horror, we will always find hope in the men and women who risk their lives for ours.
On behalf of the nation, the president offered a promise.
We know that your sorrow feels endless. We stand together to help you carry your pain. You're not alone. We will never leave your side.
And he reflected on how America endures.
In the darkest moments, what shines most brightly is the goodness that thrives in the hearts of our people.
And of the shooter, the president said his wires were screwed up.
He's a sick, demented man.
The president left as he arrived, with the crime scene never far away. Near the end of the president's remarks, he said the nation will wrestle with the Las Vegas tragedy for some time. There is no indication that reckoning will include a reassessment of the president's opposition to new gun control laws. Elaine?
Yeah, that's a central question for a lot of people. Well, Major, we heard some of the president's remarks in your piece. I'm curious, how would you describe his overall demeanor on this particular trip?
In every way presidential, in every way consistent with the hallmarks of American presidents in the modern age dealing with a national tragedy. His remarks talked about trying to find hope and some solace amid all the tragedy, the grief, the anxiety, and the trauma, something other American presidents have done successfully. And the president's remarks also spoke to a sense that those who are grieving now are not alone, that the nation will grieve with them not only now, but in the future, and that they will not, in the president's words, ever be alone. And as I mentioned, the president talked about this national wrestling with what happened here in Las Vegas. What does it mean in terms of policy? What does it mean in terms of gun control? What does it mean as a cultural marker in our country? Will there ever be a motive that offers any clarity at all into the mindset of the killer? Maybe yes, maybe no. But either way, as the president indicated, there's going to have to be a different kind of national conversation. How he intends to lead it or where he hopes it will go, we still don't know. But the president in his remarks today left a clear impression he intends to not only be a part of that conversation, but possibly lead it.
So to follow up on that, Major, President Trump's leadership in the wake of tragedy is being tested this week. He was in Puerto Rico meeting with hurricane victims Tuesday, then traveled to Las Vegas. Do we have any sense of who within the president's circle is most directly helping to shape the president's approach and tone as he takes on this role of comforter-in-chief?
Well, certainly the chief of staff, John Kelly, is, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, daughter Ivanka, chief speechwriter Stephen Miller. I would say those are the four most important, and First Lady Melania is also part of those conversations on tone, temperament, and presentation. And in Puerto Rico, the president has made a couple of significant blunders. Some people criticized what looked to be a quite informal and almost cavalier approach to the depth of suffering in Puerto Rico yesterday, casually tossing paper towels to people who need not just paper towels, but so much more. But there's legitimate criticism about an even bigger, more conspicuous blunder. On Fox last night, the president made a brief reference to the possibility of forgiving tens of billions of dollars of Puerto Rican debt. That sent the financial markets in all sorts of directions because there are lots of holders of that Puerto Rican debt who are relying on a recently passed piece of legislation from the Obama administration as a financial control board in Puerto Rico to monitor its budgeting and servicing of that debt. Wiping all that debt out would create a whole new reality for Puerto Rico and all those debt holders. Well, that created such a storm of not only confusion and chaos, but it also prompted the president's own director of the Office of Management and Budget, Mick Mulvaney, to rush out and tell reporters the very first thing this morning, no, don't read those words literally. Don't even read them as conceptually pointing to anything. The federal government is not going to bail out Puerto Rico. So in that sense, whatever the president's demeanor was in Puerto Rico, loose talk about possibly forgiving tens of billions of dollars in debt doesn't help that Commonwealth. And it doesn't give any clarity to what the federal government's ongoing role will be to rebuild that Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. And more than anything else, that probably set people in Puerto Rico even more on edge, wondering what the depth and length of the president's commitment will be and what shape it will ultimately take.
So, Major, that was going to be my next question. Is there additional clarity now about what the federal response will be for Puerto Rico in the days, weeks, and months ahead?
Well, clearly there is a sizable 12,000-member federal emergency management contingent. More and more U.S. military personnel arrive all the time. They're trying to work out reopening roads, restarting electricity, distributing basic foodstuffs, water, and medical supplies. All of these are in the formative stages, dealing with the most immediate humanitarian needs. That work is ongoing and is nowhere near completion. And you can't even begin to contemplate or sketch out plans for rebuilding until you take care of those immediate humanitarian needs. And that's going to be a task days, if not weeks, in the making. And I can tell you, within the White House and the Office of Management and Budget, they haven't even begun to calculate what it's going to require in terms of aid dollars to begin the process of rebuilding Puerto Rico and its infrastructure, which, as the president accurately pointed out, was in serious distress before the two hurricanes hit this year and is even in more distress now. So basic humanitarian intervention is where the relief effort is now and will be for some time. After that will come contemplation.